So, let's talk about mobile learning. It feels like it's everywhere, right? But the truth is, a lot of companies are jumping in without a plan and, well, they're not getting it right. Today, we're going to break down how you can build a strategy that actually delivers real results. Let's get into it.
First up, just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, the global mobile learning market is projected to hit a massive $77 billion by 2025. Yeah, this isn't just some passing trend. It's a fundamental tectonic shift in how we work and learn.
And you know who's really driving this? The new workforce. Get this, a staggering 94% of Gen Z are already using their phones for learning. For them, this isn't some cool new perk. Nope, it's just what they expect. It's the baseline.
Okay, but hang on a second. Just because everyone's doing it, does that mean you should just throw a bunch of money at it? A hasty investment without asking the right questions first can turn into a very, very expensive mistake. So where do you even begin?
Well, it all starts with the why. Seriously, before you even think about an app or a piece of technology, you have to get absolutely crystal clear on your core business objectives.
And look, the difference here is it's all about focus. A vague goal is basically just a task on a to-do list. Buy the tech. But a strategic goal, that's about solving a real business problem. Getting this clarity right at the beginning is absolutely crucial. It's going to guide every single decision you make from here on out.
So you've got to ask yourself, what are we really trying to achieve here? Are you trying to drive up sales numbers, get better customer sat scores? Maybe you need to onboard new people way faster, or even reduce safety incidents? Defining these specific, measurable outcomes from the jump is the only way you'll ever be able to prove your investment was worth it.
Okay, so once you've nailed down your why, it's time to turn our attention to the who. I'm talking about your people, your company culture, and your infrastructure. Are they actually ready for this kind of shift?
Check out this example, it's a perfect one. The NFL realized its workforce, the players, are literally always on the move. So switching from those 1,000-page, super heavy paper playbooks to tablets wasn't just some cool gimmick. It saved coaches a ton of time, up to 12 hours, and it got critical updates to the players in an instant. If your team is out in the field or working remotely, mobile learning can be that same kind of game changer.
And then you have to think about the actual devices, right? Are you going to go with a bring-your-own-device policy? It's really popular, and it can definitely save you money on hardware, but it also brings a whole lot of complexity. Different phones, different operating systems, not to mention all the security risks. Or are you going to provide the devices? That gives you control, but it adds to the cost. There's no single right answer, but you have to make a choice that actually works for your team.
And here's something that is absolutely critical: how you design your content. You cannot just take a desktop training course, shrink it down onto a tiny phone screen, and call it a day. It just doesn't work. In fact, studies show that bite-sized, mobile-first content, what we call microlearning, can boost how much information people actually remember by up to 45%. That is a huge, huge difference.
All right, so we've got our why and we've got our who. Now we can finally talk about the what. Choosing the right technology and, just as importantly, understanding what it's truly going to cost.
As you start looking at platforms, think of this as your non-negotiable checklist. It has to be easy to use. It needs to work offline for people who might be in areas with bad reception. Security has to be rock solid. It needs to connect with your other HR systems, and it has to give you good data so you know who's learning what. Do not compromise on these fundamentals.
Now, when the conversation turns to cost, and it always does, you need to be ready to talk about value. In one landmark study, IBM calculated that for every single dollar it invested in online training, it got $30 back in productivity gains. 30 to 1. Now that's the kind of ROI that makes a CFO sit up and pay attention.
But, and this is a big but, you have to be realistic about your budget. The license for the platform is just the tip of the iceberg. Remember the NFL? They had to upgrade the Wi-Fi in the stadiums and buy all those tablets. You have to factor in all the hidden costs, things like creating the content, IT support, and managing all the devices to get a true picture of your investment.
Okay, so you've nailed down your strategy, you know your people, you've got a handle on the tech. The final piece of this puzzle is the how. How are you going to launch this thing in a way that gets people genuinely excited and engaged?
This is brilliant. Take a look at what Deloitte did. To engage their massive workforce of super busy professionals, they basically turned learning into a game. They added points, badges, leaderboards, all the stuff that taps into our natural sense of competition. Making learning fun isn't frivolous. It's a powerful way to drive people to actually use it. So here it is, a simple 4-step playbook for a successful rollout. 1. Communicate the why we talked about earlier. 2. Make sure the content is actually interesting. 3. Get your leaders and managers on board to be champions for it. And 4. Track your results and be ready to tweak things based on what you learn.
And please remember this, you can't just launch an app and cross your fingers, hoping for the best. Having a proactive communication plan, a real strategy for managing the change, that is every bit as critical as the technology itself.
So let's tie this all together. What's the big takeaway here? It's that by asking these 4 questions, the why, the who, the what, and the how, you stop just buying an app and you start building a real strategic asset. You avoid wasting a ton of money and, way more importantly, you build a workforce that's more skilled, more knowledgeable, and more agile. And that really leaves us with the most important question of all. The ultimate question isn't about which app to buy, it's about culture. Is your organization, is your culture truly ready to embrace the idea of learning that can happen anytime, anywhere? Because that's the shift that really matters.